I knew something was off the moment we pulled into the driveway of her aunt's house. My wife had been unusually quiet during the 2-hour drive, staring out the window like she was heading to a funeral instead of a family reunion. "You okay?" I asked, turning off the engine. She shrugged without looking at me. "Just tired." "Tired?" "Right." She'd been tired for the past 3 weeks whenever I tried to start any conversation that went deeper than discussing what to have for dinner. The house was already buzzing with activity. Kids running around the yard, uncles grilling burgers, aunts setting up folding tables covered in checkered tablecloths. The typical American family gathering scene. I grabbed the potato salad we'd picked up from the store. My wife hadn't offered to make anything homemade, and followed her toward the crowd. That's when I noticed it. The moment we stepped into the backyard, she transformed. Suddenly, she was animated, laughing, hugging relatives like she hadn't seen them in years. But here's the thing. She completely ignored me. Didn't introduce me to anyone I hadn't met before. Didn't include me in conversations. Hell, she barely acknowledged I existed. I stood there holding the potato salad like some kind of delivery guy who'd overstayed his welcome. "Hey there, stranger." I turned around and saw Natalie walking toward me with a smile that could sell magazines. My wife's cousin, the one who'd just gone through a messy divorce 6 months ago. She was wearing a summer dress that fit her like it was custom-made, and she walked with the kind of confidence that comes from knowing every guy in a 50-foot radius was watching her. "Natalie," I said, setting the potato salad down on the nearest table. "Good to see you again." "Likewise." She stepped closer than necessary, close enough that I could smell her perfume. "You look good. Marriage suits you." I glanced over at my wife, who was deep in conversation with her sister about something that apparently required a lot of dramatic hand gestures. She hadn't looked in my direction once since we'd arrived. "Does it?" I asked, more to myself than to Natalie. She followed my gaze, and her smile widened. "Trouble in paradise?" "Nothing I can't handle." "I'm sure you can't." She touched my arm briefly. "You always struck me as the type who handles things well." There was something in the way she said it that made me look at her more carefully. Natalie had always been the family success story. Married young to some finance guy, big house, expensive cars, the whole package. Then suddenly she was divorced and, according to the family gossip, walking away with enough money to never work again if she didn't want to. "Can I get you a drink?" she asked. "I think they've got beer in the cooler." "Sure, thanks." As she walked away to get the drinks, I caught my wife watching us from across the yard. For the first time all day, she was looking directly at me. But the expression on her face wasn't what I expected. It wasn't jealousy or concern. It was something else. Something that looked almost like calculation. Natalie returned with 2 bottles and handed me one. "So tell me," she said, taking a sip of her beer. "What have you been up to? Besides being married to my cousin, of course. Work keeps me busy. You know how it is." "Actually, I don't anymore." She laughed. "One of the perks of being newly single. I get to figure out what I actually want to do with my time." We talked for a few minutes about nothing important. The weather, the food, how loud her uncle's new pickup truck was. Normal family reunion conversation. But I could feel my wife's eyes on us the entire time. When lunch was called, everyone gathered around the buffet table that had been set up under the covered patio. My wife got in line ahead of me, still not saying a word. I was a few people behind her, next to Natalie, when it happened. "So," Natalie said, loud enough for several people to hear, "are you available for dinner sometime this week?" I nearly choked on the sip of beer I'd just taken. "What?" She grinned, clearly enjoying the attention her question had drawn from nearby relatives. "I mean, I know you're married and all, but a girl can ask, right? I've always found you attractive." The entire buffet line went quiet. Someone's paper plate hit the ground. I glanced toward my wife, who had frozen in place while reaching for the potato salad. Our potato salad from the store. Her back was to us, but I could see her shoulders tense up like she'd been electrocuted. "Natalie," I said carefully, "I think you've had too much sun today." "Have I?" She stepped closer, lowering her voice, but not enough that people couldn't still hear. "I don't think so. I think I'm just finally saying what I should have said years ago." My wife turned around slowly, holding the serving spoon like she was considering using it as a weapon. Her face had gone completely pale except for 2 bright red spots on her cheeks. "Everything okay over here?" she asked, but her voice came out higher than normal. "Just fine," Natalie replied sweetly. "I was just telling your husband how nice it is to have him here today. He's such good company." The two women stared at each other for what felt like an hour, but was probably only 10 seconds. I could practically see the electricity crackling between them. "Well," my wife said finally, "he is my husband, so of course he's good company." "Of course," Natalie agreed, but the way she said it made it sound like she was agreeing to something entirely different. My wife turned back to the food with more force than necessary, slamming the serving spoon back into the potato salad hard enough to splash some onto the table. I stood there watching this whole exchange, and that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about Natalie making an inappropriate comment. There was history here, tension that went deeper than what I'd just witnessed. And something told me I was about to find out exactly what that was. The drive home was silent except for the hum of the air conditioning and the sound of my wife's fingernails tapping against the passenger window. She'd been doing that for the last 30 miles, and it was starting to get on my nerves. "So," I said finally, "that was interesting." "More tapping." "What was interesting?" "Natalie's little performance back there." She stopped tapping and turned to look at me. "Performance?" "She was just being friendly." "Friendly." I kept my eyes on the road. "Is that what we're calling it?" "What else would you call it?" I could have said a lot of things. Inappropriate, deliberate, calculated. But instead I just shrugged. Nothing. Forget I mentioned it. We pulled into our driveway 20 minutes later, and she was out of the car before I'd even turned off the engine. By the time I got inside, she was already upstairs, claiming she needed a shower. I grabbed a beer from the fridge and sat down at the kitchen table, thinking about what had happened. The whole thing felt off. Not just Natalie's comment, but my wife's reaction to it. She'd been angry, sure, but there was something else underneath that anger. Something that looked almost like fear. I was still sitting there an hour later when she came downstairs wearing pajamas, even though it was barely 7 in the evening. "I'm going to bed early," she announced. "I have a headache. It's Sunday night. Don't you want to watch something?" "Not tonight." She headed for the stairs, then stopped and turned back. "Can you throw in a load of laundry? The hamper in our room is full." After she disappeared upstairs, I finished my beer and went to deal with the laundry. I was sorting through the clothes when I found her jeans from yesterday, the ones she'd worn to run errands. Her phone charger was tangled up in one of the pockets. As I pulled it out, her phone fell onto the floor. The screen lit up with a notification. I wasn't trying to snoop, but I couldn't help seeing it. A text message from someone named N that said, "How did he react? Did it work?" I stared at the phone for a long moment, then set it on the dresser and went back to sorting laundry. But I couldn't stop thinking about that message. Did it work? Did what work? The next morning, my wife left early for work without saying goodbye. She'd been doing that a lot lately, leaving before I got up, coming home after I'd already eaten dinner. I was starting to feel like we were roommates instead of married people. I had the day off, so I decided to do some cleaning around the house. Started with our bedroom, organizing the nightstand drawers that had become catch-alls for random stuff. That's when I found it. A small notebook tucked behind some old magazines in her nightstand drawer. I almost put it back without looking, but something made me flip it open. It was full of text message screenshots, pages and pages of them, all conversations between my wife and Natalie, going back months. I sat down on the bed and started reading. The first few were innocent enough. Catching up after Natalie's divorce, family gossip, that kind of thing. But as I kept reading, the tone changed. "I can't believe you stayed with him all these years," one message from Natalie read. "Don't you ever wonder what else is out there?" My wife's response, "Sometimes. But it's complicated. It doesn't have to be. Look at me. I'm free now, and I've never been happier." Easy for you to say. You got the house, the car, the money. You always land on your feet. You could too, if you wanted to. I flipped through more pages, my stomach getting tighter with each conversation. Natalie talking about her new life, her freedom, her financial independence. My wife responding with increasing frustration about feeling stuck and settling for less. Then I found the conversations from last month. "I've been thinking about what you said," my wife had written, "about wondering what else is out there. And maybe you're right. Maybe I did settle. You know what your problem is? You've never believed you deserve better. You've always thought I was the prettier one, the smarter one, the one who got the good guys. Because you were. We're being the key word. Now I'm divorced and you're still married. Funny how things change." I had to read that exchange 3 times before it sank in. This wasn't just about my marriage. This was about some kind of lifelong competition between the two of them. The next screenshot was from 2 weeks ago. "Want to know a secret?" Natalie had written. I always thought your husband was attractive, even when I was married. My wife's response was just 3 question marks. I'm serious. You got lucky with that one. He's okay. Okay. Are you kidding me? He's got that strong, quiet thing going for him. The kind of guy who actually fixes things instead of just complaining about them. I guess. You guess? Wow. You genuine don't know what you have, do you? Then came the final screenshot, dated just 4 days ago. I have an idea, Natalie had written. What if I proved to you that you could do better? What if I showed you that even your okay husband would rather be with me? What are you talking about? The family reunion. Let me flirt with him a little. See how he reacts. If he's interested, you'll know he's not as committed as you think. If he's not interested, well, at least you'll know you've got a good one. That's insane. Is it? Or is it just honest? Either way, you win. Either you find out he's not worth keeping, or you finally appreciate what you have. My hands were shaking as I closed the notebook. The whole thing had been planned. Natalie's comment, my wife's strange behavior, all of it. A test. A game. But here's what they hadn't counted on. I'd seen right through it. And now I knew exactly what I was dealing with. 2 women who saw me as nothing more than a prize in their twisted competition. One who thought she could take me, and one who wasn't sure she wanted to keep me. Well, they were about to learn something about me that neither of them expected. I don't play games. I win them. The first coincidence happened 3 days later at the grocery store. I was picking up milk and bread after work when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Well, small world. I turned around to find Natalie pushing a cart filled with expensive organic everything. She was wearing workout clothes that probably cost more than most people's monthly car payments. Hey, I said, keeping my voice neutral. How's it going? Great, actually. I love this store. The produce section is amazing. She gestured toward the organic apples that were $4 a pound. I've been trying to eat healthier since the divorce. New life, new habits, you know. I nodded and started to move toward the checkout, but she fell into step beside me. How's married life treating you? She asked, and there was something in her tone that told me this wasn't a casual question. Same as always. She picked up a magazine from the rack and flipped through it. I have to say, I'm still getting used to being single again. It's strange having so much freedom after being tied down for so long. Tied down. Interesting choice of words. I bet, I said, loading my few items onto the checkout belt. The funny thing is, I'm starting to realize how much I compromised in my marriage. How much I settled for less than I deserved. She set her magazine back down and looked directly at me. Do you ever feel that way? The checkout clerk was a teenage kid who was pretending not to listen but obviously hanging on every word. I handed him a 20 and waited for my change. Can't say that I do. Lucky you. She smiled. Or maybe you're just not being honest with yourself. I took my bag and receipt. Have a good day, Natalie. You too. Maybe I'll see you around. The second coincidence happened Friday night. My wife and I had gone to dinner at Romano's, a family Italian place we'd been going to for years. We were halfway through our meal when Natalie walked in, alone, and asked to be seated at the bar. She waved when she saw us, then made a show of looking disappointed when the hostess told her the wait for a table was 45 minutes. This is awkward, my wife said, cutting her chicken with more force than necessary. Why? She's obviously following us. I looked over at the bar, where Natalie was chatting with the bartender like they were old friends. Maybe she just likes Italian food, right? And maybe I'm the tooth fairy. We finished our dinner in relative silence, my wife shooting glances toward the bar every few minutes. As we were leaving, Natalie called out my name. Hey, before you go, she said, getting up from her bar stool. I wanted to thank you for being so nice at the reunion. I know my comment was a little forward. Don't worry about it. I hope I didn't cause any problems between you two. She looked at my wife with what appeared to be genuine concern, but I could see the calculation behind her eyes. No problems, my wife said tightly. Good. Because honestly, I was just being honest. Life's too short not to say what you're thinking, don't you agree? She was looking at me when she said it, and I realized this was another test. Another little game to see how I'd respond. Depends on what you're thinking, I said. She laughed. Fair enough. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening. The third coincidence happened the following Tuesday. I was at work, grabbing coffee from the break room, when the receptionist told me I had a visitor. Natalie was standing in the lobby wearing a business suit and holding a leather portfolio. What are you doing here? I asked. I'm thinking about investing in some commercial property, she said. I heard you guys handle commercial loans. This was news to me, since we were a small community bank that mostly did personal accounts and home mortgages. But I wasn't about to call her out in front of my coworkers. Let me introduce you to someone who can help with that, I said, leading her toward the office of our manager, Mr. Garrett. Actually, she said, stopping in the hallway, I was hoping to talk to you specifically. I trust your judgment. I don't handle commercial investments. I know, but you understand people. You understand what makes a good decision versus a bad one. She stepped closer. I've been thinking about our conversation at the grocery store, about settling for less than you deserve. Natalie, I know this might sound crazy, but I can't stop thinking about you, about how different things could be if circumstances were different. I looked around to make sure no one was listening. You need to stop this. Stop what? Being honest about how I feel. Stop whatever game you're playing. She tilted her head, studying my face. What makes you think I'm playing a game? Because I know you are. For just a second, her mask slipped. I saw something flicker across her face, surprise, maybe even respect. Interesting, she said finally. You're more perceptive than I gave you credit for. What's that supposed to mean? It means I might have underestimated you. She adjusted her grip on the portfolio. Tell me something. Are you happy? Genuinely happy with your life the way it is? That's not really your business. Maybe not, but I'm going to tell you something anyway. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. Your wife doesn't appreciate you. She takes you for granted. She's been telling people for months that she feels trapped, that she wonders what else is out there. People like you, people like me. She didn't deny it. And do you know what I told her? I told her she's an idiot. Because some women spend their whole lives looking for a man like you, and she's got one and doesn't even realize it. I stared at her, trying to figure out if this was part of the manipulation or if she was actually being sincere. Think about it, she said, stepping back. When's the last time she made you feel wanted? When's the last time she made you feel like you were her first choice instead of just the safe choice? She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and don't bother introducing me to your manager. I'm not actually interested in commercial property. She walked out, leaving me standing in the hallway wondering what the hell had just happened. That night, I watched my wife go through her usual routine. Home from work, quick dinner, television, bed. We barely spoke except to discuss practical things like whose turn it was to take out the trash. And for the first time, I started to wonder if Natalie was right about one thing. When was the last time my wife had made me feel wanted? I couldn't remember. The call came on a Saturday morning while my wife was at her yoga class. I almost didn't answer because I didn't recognize the number. It's Natalie, the voice said before I could even say hello. We need to talk. About what? Not over the phone. Can you meet me somewhere? I looked at the clock. My wife wouldn't be back for 2 hours. Where? Riverside Park. The bench by the old oak tree. You know the one. I didn't know the one. It was where teenagers went to make out because it was hidden from the main walking path. Interesting choice. 20 minutes later, I found her sitting on that exact bench, wearing jeans and a sweater that somehow managed to look both casual and expensive. She had 2 coffee cups beside her. Thanks for coming, she said, handing me one of the cups. I wasn't sure you would. I'm here. What do you want to talk about? She was quiet for a moment, staring out at the river. Can I ask you something? And will you give me an honest answer? Depends on the question. When's the last time you felt genuinely excited about your life? I took a sip of the coffee. It was good, not the cheap stuff from the gas station. That's a weird question. Is it? I don't think so. I think it's the most important question there is. She turned to look at me. Because I've been watching you, and you look like a man who's going through the motions. You've been watching me for all of 2 weeks. I've been watching you for years, she said quietly. At family gatherings, holidays, barbecues. You always looked settled. Content, maybe, but never excited. I didn't like where this conversation was heading. What's your point? My point is that I think you deserve better than content. I think you deserve to feel alive. And you're going to show me how. She smiled. Maybe I am. A jogger ran past us, earbuds in, completely focused on his workout. Normal Saturday morning stuff. Meanwhile, I was sitting here having the most surreal conversation of my life. I'm going to say something, Natalie continued, and I want you to hear me out before you respond. Can you do that? I'm listening. She took a deep breath. I want you to leave her and come live with me. I nearly dropped my coffee. What? I know how it sounds. But just think about it for a minute. Really think about it. She shifted on the bench to face me directly. I've got a 4-bedroom house with no mortgage. I've got enough money to last the rest of my life if I'm smart about it. I don't need anything from you except your company. Natalie, I'm not finished. You're 42 years old. How many more years are you going to spend in a marriage that doesn't make you happy? How many more Saturday mornings are you going to wake up feeling like you're just marking time? Who says I'm not happy? Your face says it. Your body language says it. The way you barely touched your wife at the reunion says it. She leaned closer. The way you're sitting here having this conversation with me instead of walking away says it. That stung because it was partially true. A year ago, I would have ended this conversation the moment she suggested it. But here I was, still sitting, still listening. I can give you things she can't, Natalie continued. Adventure, spontaneity, passion. When's the last time you and your wife went somewhere you'd never been before? When's the last time you stayed in bed all morning just because you didn't want to leave each other? You don't know anything about my marriage. I know enough. I know she complains about feeling trapped, which means she sees you as the trap. I know she questions whether she's settled, which means she doesn't think you're the best she could do. I know she agreed to let me flirt with you just to see what would happen, which means she's not sure she wants to keep you. My hands tightened around the coffee cup. How do you know that? Because she told me. All of it. Natalie's voice was calm, matter of fact. Did you think that little scene at the reunion was my idea? She's the one who suggested it. She wanted to see if you'd be interested in someone else. The jogger came back around, still focused on his run. I envied his simplicity, just one foot in front of the other, heading toward a clear destination. You're lying. Am I? Ask her. Tonight, when she gets home from yoga, ask her if she's been talking to me about your marriage. Ask her if she suggested I test your loyalty. See what she says. I stood up, needing to move, needing to think. This is insane. Is it? Or is it just honest? She stood up too, moving to block my path. I'm offering you a genuine chance at happiness. No games, no tests, no wondering if you're appreciated. Just two adults who enjoy each other's company. And what happens when you get bored? When the novelty wears off? What happens when your wife decides she's done settling? When she decides she wants to see what else is out there? Natalie stepped closer. At least with me, you know where you stand. I want you. I've wanted you for years. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I looked at this woman, beautiful, confident, financially independent, offering me everything my wife seemed to think I wasn't worth fighting for. It should have been flattering. It should have been tempting. Instead, it made me angry. You know what I think? I said, I think this isn't about me at all. I think this is about you proving you can take something away from your cousin. I think you've been competing with her your whole life, and I'm just the latest prize in your little game. Her expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Maybe that's how it started, but it's not how it is now. No? Then what is it now? Now it's about giving you what you deserve, and giving myself what I want. She reached out and touched my arm. Think about it. Really think about it. Don't give me an answer today. Just consider the possibility that your life could be different. She picked up the empty coffee cups and walked away, leaving me standing by the bench with more questions than answers. The drive home took 15 minutes. I spent the entire time thinking about what she'd said, about feeling excited versus content, about being someone's choice versus being their safe option. When I walked into the house, my wife was back from yoga, sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop open. How was your morning? She asked without looking up from the screen. Fine. How was yoga? Good. Relaxing. We went back to our respective activities. Her on the laptop, me pretending to watch television. Normal Saturday afternoon stuff. But nothing felt normal anymore, because now I had a choice to make. And for the first time in years, I wasn't sure what the right answer was. I decided to test Natalie's claim about my wife suggesting the flirtation. Sunday dinner seemed like the perfect opportunity. So, I said, cutting into my steak, Natalie's been around a lot lately. My wife's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Has she? Yeah. Grocery store, Romano's, even stopped by my work. I kept my voice casual. Strange coincidences. She mentioned you two have been talking. About our marriage. Now the fork went down completely. What did she say? That you've been sharing some pretty personal details with her. About feeling trapped. About wondering what else is out there. Her face went through several color changes. I may have vented a little. Everyone needs someone to talk to. And the reunion? Her comment about finding me attractive? Was that part of your venting session? She stared at me for a long moment. I could practically see her trying to decide between lying and coming clean. Okay, fine. Maybe I mentioned that I wasn't sure how committed you were to this marriage. Maybe I wondered what would happen if someone else showed interest in you. So you asked her to test me. I asked her to be herself. I didn't expect her to be so obvious about it. I set down my knife and fork. Let me get this straight. You weren't sure if I was committed, so instead of talking to me about it, you sent your cousin to flirt with me? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? She stood up and started clearing dishes that weren't empty. It was stupid, okay? I was feeling insecure, and I made a mistake. Insecure about what? About us. About whether you actually want to be here or if you're just going through the motions. The irony hit me like a truck. She was worried I was going through the motions while she was the one treating our marriage like a science experiment. And now? Now what? Now that you've tested me and I passed, how do you feel about our marriage? She stopped clearing dishes and looked at me. What's that supposed to mean? It means Natalie made me an offer yesterday. A genuine offer. And I'm considering it. Her face went white. What kind of offer? The kind where I leave you and move in with her. The kind where I stop being someone's safe choice and become someone's first choice. You can't be serious. Can't I? You said it yourself. You're not sure you want to be here. Well, guess what? Neither am I. She sat back down heavily. This is ridiculous. You're not going to leave me for my cousin. Why not? She appreciates me. She wants me. She's not constantly wondering if she could do better. She's using you to get back at me. Don't you see that? Maybe, but at least she's honest about wanting me. Can you say the same? The question hung in the air between us. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Opened it again. Of course I want you. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you want the security I provide. The steady paycheck, the reliability, the fact that I don't cause problems. But do you want me? That's not fair. No. What's not fair is being married to someone who sees you as settling. What's not fair is having your loyalty tested by your own wife. I stood up and walked toward the door. Where are you going? To give Natalie my answer. Wait. She grabbed my arm. Don't do this. We can work through this. We can go to counseling. I looked down at her hand on my arm. Why? So you can figure out if you want to keep me? So you can make sure you're not missing out on something better? No. So we can fix our marriage. Our marriage isn't broken. It's just honest now. I gently removed her hand. You wanted to know if I was committed. Well, now you know. I was. Past tense. I walked out the door, leaving her sitting at the kitchen table surrounded by dirty dishes and the consequences of her games. But I didn't drive to Natalie's house. Instead, I drove to the park where we talked yesterday and sat on that same bench. Because I'd realized something during that conversation with my wife. Something that changed everything. I didn't want either of them. I didn't want to be someone's test case or someone's trophy. I didn't want to be the safe choice or the exciting choice. I wanted to be my own choice. And tomorrow, I was going to start making that happen. Monday morning, I called in sick to work. I had something more important to do. First stop, Natalie's house. She answered the door in a silk robe, clearly expecting my visit to be a different kind of conversation. I knew you'd come, she said with a satisfied smile. Did you? Of course. You're too smart to stay with someone who doesn't value you. I stepped inside, but I didn't sit down. You're right about one thing. I am too smart. Too smart to be anyone's prize in a family competition. Her smile faltered slightly. What do you mean? I mean, I know exactly what this is about. You've spent your whole life trying to prove you're better than your cousin. First you married the richer guy. Now you want to steal her husband. It's not about me at all. That's not true, isn't it? Tell me, Natalie, when you were married, did you ever think about me? Or did I only become interesting after your cousin started questioning our marriage? She didn't answer, which was answer enough. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. I'm leaving my wife. But I'm not coming here. I'm done being anyone's trophy. You're making a mistake. The only mistake I made was not seeing this sooner. I left her standing in her expensive robe in her expensive house, looking genuinely shocked for the first time since I'd known her. Second stop, home. My wife was in the kitchen, still in her pajamas even though it was almost noon. She looked like she hadn't slept. We need to talk, I said. I know. I've been thinking all night. About us, about what I did. She turned to face me. I'm sorry. I was wrong to test you like that. Yes, you were. But we can fix this. I'll cut contact with Natalie. We'll start fresh. No, we won't. Why not? Because you showed me who you are. Someone who sees marriage as something to endure instead of something to cherish. Someone who tests loyalty instead of building it. That's not fair. Everyone has doubts sometimes. Having doubts is human. Orchestrating tests is manipulation. I sat down across from her. Answer me honestly. Do you love me? Or do you love the security I represent? She was quiet for a long time. I don't know anymore. Then you have your answer. So what happens now? Now I pack some things and find a lawyer. You can keep the house, the car, whatever you want. I just want out. Just like that. Just like that. Third stop, my brother's house. He let me crash in his spare room while I figured things out. Within a week, I'd found a small apartment across town and filed for divorce. Simple, clean, no drama. The fallout was swift and predictable. Natalie called repeatedly for the first few days, then stopped when she realized I wasn't changing my mind. According to family gossip, she started dating some investment banker within a month. Apparently, she needed a new prize to chase. My wife tried the reconciliation route for a while. Flowers, text messages, promises to change. When that didn't work, she got angry. When anger didn't work, she got desperate. The last I heard, she was telling anyone who'd listened that I'd abandoned her for no reason. The family reunion the following year was interesting. Neither woman spoke to me, but I caught them shooting daggers at each other across the potato salad table. Their little game had backfired spectacularly, destroying their relationship without winning either of them anything. I went alone, stayed for exactly 2 hours, and left feeling lighter than I had in years. 6 months later, I started dating again. Not because I was looking for someone to fill a void, but because I was finally ready to find someone who wanted to build something together instead of testing whether it was worth keeping. The difference was remarkable. When you know your own worth, you stop accepting people who question it. My ex-wife remarried last year to someone her sister described as safe and reliable. Natalie is on her 3rd relationship since our conversation. Me? I'm exactly where I want to be. Free.